How does no one tell us the secret in real estate? First thing that I always tell people is there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. The stocks make 8%. You're crazy. Why would you buy real estate? If I would have taken those first 30 deals and bought real estate assets rather than a Mustang GT, a 5-bedroom townhouse, all the things that I did, I was digging a trench in the pouring rain in the Pacific Northwest. If anyone's been there before, you know that it's freezing cold in the winter, it's just above like the snow level, and you're like wet to the bones. And I'll never forget this moment. This white Mercedes pulls up, and this door opens, and an umbrella pops out, and these high heels go into the concrete floor, and this girl tiptoes past me and goes into the house, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to be the average realtor. I want to make money, talk to people, and get out of the rain. And so, man, that was like such a fun moment. So, I remember 6 months later, I had passed my exam, and now I was a realtor. And so I did what the typical realtor does. This was the end of 2006, so my very first deal was Christmas Eve. So the first thing I did is I gave up all of my family plans so that I could sell a house. So I'd already lost the ability to have time management. But I sold a house, it was pretty exciting. And then 2007 rolled around, and I was God's gift to real estate. So I'd work on the job site from 7 to 3:30, and then have a change of clothes and do an open house every day from like 4:30 to 6. And people would come into the open house, I was 21 years old at the time. They'd say, you look like my grandson. I'm like, yeah, but do you want to buy a house? And they would say, yes. And so I sold a lot of houses in 2007. And so I did what the average realtor does. And so in 2007, I bought myself a 5-bedroom townhouse. All of my best friends moved in with me, so we call it the man family. Someone gave us a hot tub for free. I don't know why they did it. It's the most disgusting hot tub you've ever seen in your life. I bought myself a Mustang GT because every 21-year-old also needs a truck and a Mustang GT. I was a star at the bar, so I'd buy everybody around so we'd have a great time. And I was having the time of my life. And then this thing called the Great Recession showed up in 2008. I remember doing my thing, but I'd be at open houses, and if people came to open houses, they'd be like, we need to think about it. And I'd be like, yeah, you think about it. I had no sales skills. I didn't know that was an objection. And so they never showed up again. And I'm like, well, that's weird. And so I remember like we went partway through the year. I wasn't selling houses anymore. My accountant calls me, accountant. Like, Cam, we got good news for you. I'm like, oh, I'm going to sell you a house. And they said, we did your taxes. You only owe $25,000 in taxes. I didn't know that I had to pay taxes. So I got into real estate. No one told me what to do. They're like, there's the phone, good luck. So I did open houses. And so I went to the bank. I'm like, I need a line of credit for marketing. So they gave me a marketing line of credit, paid my taxes. So now I'm not selling houses, and I have all of these bills stacking up. And things aren't fun all of a sudden anymore. I remember walking down the hallways of my real estate office, and it's funny, like I noticed something in that moment, because when you're on the way to rock bottom, you start to actually notice things. And I noticed the older realtors in my office drinking their crappy cups of coffee would be like, we wish we would have bought real estate when we were your age. And I was like, oh, interesting. And I walked into my manager's office, and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. I can't handle the bills from the office. I have this line of credit I have to pay off. I'm not selling houses. And he goes, I don't know what to tell you. Try this. Pulls a CD out of his CDs back then. I'm getting old apparently. And so, cheeseball sales guy from the 80s and 90s, but I listened to that CD and that was one of my aha moments in real estate. And so I learned, one, I had to get good at my craft. And two, it also taught me that there's kind of a couple different variables on our financial statements. If you want to change your net number, you can either increase your revenue or decrease your expenses. No one had ever taught me that in my life, obviously because my accountant called me to know how to pay taxes. And so I couldn't decrease my expenses because they were what they were. And so I was like, okay, I need to get better at increasing my revenue. And so I went to town selling as many houses as I could. I got lucky, and I did start selling a lot of houses. And so I remember I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna start spending things on things that don't matter anymore. I think I need to buy my first asset. I'm gonna take the advice from those older guys and gals in the office who had fear in their eyes, and I will buy the houses they didn't buy. So remember I bought my very first rental house? So awesome. So I remember my mortgage payment was $1,000 a month, and my rent was $2,000 a month. After insurance, a couple of things, I was making $800 a month. And so whether I sold a house or didn't sell a house, $800 came into my account. And then the month after that happened, and the month after that happened, and the month after that happened. I'm like, how does no one tell us the secret in real estate? Water break. And so I felt like people should know this. And so every year, I decided to keep increasing my revenue and to keep buying more assets. And so I'm proud to say that 17 years later, I own about $25 million in real estate. I have $72,000 a month coming into my account from my real estate that I don't have to do anything. It just comes in month after month after month. I pay down $97.50 per hour, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks of the year from these assets, doing nothing. I still get to sell real estate. I own a brokerage. I got fortunate enough to start a brokerage from the den of my house. We went from 0 to 130 realtors pretty quickly. And so it's been a fun journey. But I find now is I have this mantra that I need to help realtors actually learn what matters in real estate. There's a stat from 2017 in NAR that says the average realtor retires with $10,000 in their bank account and their personal asset of their house, and that's it. And I feel like that's not good enough for our industry. We're in the coolest industry in the entire world. We are front row to the best opportunities. And what do we do with those opportunities? We call our investor client, hey, you should look at this house. You should look at this house. And no one really tells us we should be buying these houses. And so if you learn nothing today, can you at least write down, I will become my own client. Write it down on your phone, do something. Hold on, I'm bad at multitasking. Okay, there you go. Okay, so that's step one, become your own client. But I think we need to learn some financial advice before we get there. So the first thing that I always tell people is there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. So a rich person is someone, we'll say they win the lottery, they win $5 million, they have a finite amount of time. Because what happens to lottery winners over time? They lose their money, exactly. So they're gonna buy their Ferrari, they're gonna go probably to the bar like I did. If they're a really nice human, they'll pay off their mom's mortgage. There's lots of things they're gonna do. But after a certain amount of time, it'll be zero. Whereas the wealthy person, say they live off of $4,000 a month, they live very cheap. As long as they have an asset that pays for that $4,000 a month, they get to step away from working, and month after month after month, they get to live their own life on their terms. And I know in real estate, why do we sign up? We sign up because we want to do things on our own terms. We want to live a life of adventure, and we want to have freedom. And those things are very near and dear to my heart, and so I want to set my life up so I can do those things. Now, the next principle I teach people is it's the principle of going for dinner. So people are like, okay, so when you're buying a financial thing in real estate, what's the most important part? Is it cash flow, is it principal repayment, or is it appreciation? I say when you're going for dinner, you're going for dinner. That is your principal repayment. So no matter what, you're always paying off principal. Now, if I'm feeling saucy and I want to get oysters as an appetizer, that's exciting, but I don't get it all the time. And so that appetizer is our cash flow. If we have low interest rates, high rates, we'll get that cash flow every once in a while. Now, the third part of it is if you go for enough dinners, you're going to get to have dessert sometimes. And dessert is the appreciation on real estate. So the place where I live, our real estate assets double every 11.2 years. So I'm not sure what it is for you guys. Every market's a little bit different, kind of depending where you're at. But I know that if I go for enough dinners, I'm going to get that appreciation over time. And so this is the fun part. So this is where me and my stockbroker, we fight all the time. I'm right, he's wrong, he doesn't know it. He goes, Cam, the stocks make 8%. You're crazy. Why would you buy real estate? Real estate only goes up 6%. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand the power of leverage and ROIC, return on invested capital. And so housing is so safe that we can leverage it. So we'll nerd out for a sec, the path is in the math always. So if you take $100,000 and you compound it over 10 years in the stock market, you make your 8% like they say. It never happens to me, but maybe to other people. You're gonna get a return of about $115,000 in 10 years. Not bad. So when I go to my stockbroker, I'm like, can I just do some math with you to help? I'm probably not very nice to him. And so we'll keep this super simple. We take $100,000 in real estate, we get to leverage that into a $500,000 asset. That's our 20% down. And so now we're making 6% on $500,000, which is much more powerful than 8% on $100,000. And so after 10 years, assuming the rent is paid for by the tenants, your return is going to be about $402,000. 4 times the amount of the stock market. And we are in the front row of this game. We see these best opportunities. This is the average. We can do so much better than this still. And so I remember my very first year in real estate. I sold 33 properties in my first year. If I would have taken those first 30 deals and bought real estate assets rather than a Mustang GT, a 5-bedroom townhouse, all the things that I did, and I bought 4 properties, and I'll use today's number just to keep it simple for you guys. So the average house in America right now is about $500,000. My $100,000, that's my first 30 deals, would have been $400,000. I could have leveraged into that many houses. If I would have done nothing from year 1 until now, other than spent all my money whatever the heck I wanted to, the net worth would have been $6.4 million, and I would have been almost paid off on those assets with cash flow. But for some reason, no one ever talks about this stuff in real estate, and I don't know why. We live in the best industry, and so we need to learn how to become our own clients, and we need to learn how to start looking for these assets so that we can actually start purchasing them and living this life of freedom. And so people are like, they ask me about this, and I'm like, money doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is my time, my freedom, and my adventure. And so today I'm lucky enough I take about 15 weeks of vacation. I don't work evenings, weekends. I have a house in California and a house on a lake and a house in the Pacific Northwest. I get to live a really cool life on my terms. And that's what I want for my realtors. And unfortunately, I have so many realtors that work through my brokerage that too many of them are just average and they spend the money on the Mercedes or the Mustangs or the going out to the bars or going on fancy vacations. So if you can just push pause on that for a little bit and buy your assets first, you're gonna be so much further ahead. So here's my closing story. My family member probably would like hearing this. So 15 years ago, I was at a family barbecue and one of my family members came to me and said, Cam, the bottom is here. The bubble is gonna burst. Don't buy real estate. I'm gonna buy it in a year when everything crashes and burns. I'm like, oh, okay. And that same week, ironically, I had a youth pastor come to my office making $20,000 a year. And he goes, I think this real estate thing makes sense. And so I was like, let's help you. So we bought his first lot, built his first house, and then year after year after year, barbecue after barbecue after barbecue, that family member every time would say what? The bubble is here, the market's falling, just you wait, Cameron. And year after year after year, that youth pastor figured the game out. And he got his real estate license. He now works through my company. He has over 100 properties worth over $100 million. He's much smarter than I am. He just built himself a neighborhood, and his neighborhood is only for his friends. Every second house has a pool or a basketball court or a tennis court, so it's actually really fun. He works less than 20 hours a week. He coaches his kids' basketball team, and he does what he wants, when he wants, on his own terms. And so I appreciate this ability to be up here and talk to you guys. This stuff really matters to me, and I hope that you guys do this. And so I'll leave you with this. Selling real estate is our job, but owning real estate should be our career. Thanks, guys.